Welcome to the Blanco Wellness Podcast. Thank you for being here. Take a breath, settle in, and let's talk today about something that quietly exhausts more people than almost anything else, and that almost no one recognizes in themselves until the exhaustion has already arrived. You send a message and then find yourself checking your phone every few minutes, wondering why there is no reply yet and what the silence might mean. You start something new, and the excitement is almost immediately followed by a cascade of what-ifs, a mental rehearsal of everything that could go wrong. You care about someone and discover, without quite deciding to, that you are spending significant energy trying to anticipate their behavior, manage their reactions, ensure the particular outcome you need. The mind is working very hard, almost constantly, at something that it presents as preparation or care or responsibility. But that, looked at honestly, is the attempt to control what is not controllable. Most people do not think of themselves as controlling. The word carries connotations of rigidity and dominance that do not fit the internal experience. From the inside, it does not feel like control. It feels like concern, like taking things seriously, like being responsible for outcomes that matter. But the behavior underneath it tends to have the same shape regardless of how it is labeled. The tightening grip around an uncertain future, the sustained mental effort to prevent something painful before it can arrive, the exhausting work of trying to manage variables that are not yours to manage, and it comes, almost always, from fear. Not weakness. Fear, which is a different thing. The person who needs to control their environment is not someone who lacks strength. They are someone who learned somewhere along the way that uncertainty is dangerous, that the unexpected tends to bring pain, and that the best protection available is to see everything coming before it arrives. The grip is a form of armor. It just happens to be armor that weighs more than what it is protecting against. The Buddhist tradition observed this pattern clearly and traced it to a specific misunderstanding about the nature of experience. Much of human suffering, the teachings suggest, does not come from what actually happens. It comes from the sustained attempt to prevent things from happening in ways that cannot, in fact, be prevented. Consider how much of your daily mental activity is directed toward things you cannot directly influence. Other people's opinions, other people's choices, the timing of circumstances, the way situations unfold despite your best planning. A remarkable portion of the mind's energy goes toward arguing with reality, demanding that it be other than it is, preparing elaborate responses to events that have not occurred and may not, insisting that life adhere to the version of it that feels safest. The river does not become different because someone shouts at it to change direction. But the person doing the shouting becomes very tired. The Taoists found in water their most consistent teacher on this question. Water encounters an obstacle and does not argue with it. It does not insist that the rock should not be there, or exhaust itself trying to move what cannot be moved directly. It finds the space that is available, moves through it, and continues. The rock is not treated as a failure of the river's planning. It is simply part of the landscape, and the river adapts to the landscape rather than demanding the landscape adapt to it. What looks like yielding produces, over time, something that direct force never achieves. The river reaches the ocean. The person who spent their life arguing with rocks does not. There is a particular illusion worth examining directly, because it drives so much of the need for control. The belief that if you think hard enough, plan carefully enough, worry thoroughly enough, you can prevent pain from arriving, that the discomfort of constant vigilance is a worthwhile price to pay for the safety it purchases. But consider your own experience honestly. have the most significant things in your life, the ones that actually shaped who you are, that produced the understanding and the resilience and the capacity for genuine connection that you have. Have those things arrived according to plan? The relationships that mattered, the opportunities that changed something, the difficult passages that eventually produced something genuinely valuable. Almost none of it was predicted or controlled into existence. Much of it arrived from exactly the uncertain territory that the need for control is designed to avoid. The Zen teaching that the obstacle is the path sounds, at first hearing, like something designed to make difficulty more tolerable. But it is pointing at something more precise. The uncertainty that feels threatening turns out, in retrospect, to be where most of the growth was. The situation you could not control forced a kind of flexibility and adaptation that comfort never could have. The loss you could not prevent produced a depth of understanding that the protected version of your life would not have reached. This does not make the difficulty pleasant, and it is not an argument for seeking out suffering. It is an observation about what happens when you stop pouring all available energy into fighting what is, and begin instead to engage with it, to bring your actual intelligence and care to the reality in front of you rather than to the version of it you are trying to produce. There is a useful distinction that tends to reduce the exhaustion considerably once it is genuinely understood. The difference between influence and control. You can influence many things: your own choices and behavior, the quality of care you bring to a relationship, the effort you direct towards something you value. These are real and worth engaging with fully. Control, the guarantee of outcomes, the management of other people's inner lives, the prevention of all unwanted futures, is mostly not available, however much energy is directed toward it. The suffering tends to live exactly in the gap between these two, in the insistence on achieving what influence can never deliver. When the energy currently spent on the impossible is redirected toward the genuinely possible, something changes. Not because the world becomes more predictable, but because you stop fighting a battle that was always unwinnable and begin engaging with the one that is actually yours. As we close today, I want to leave you with a question worth sitting with honestly. What are you currently trying to control that is not actually yours to control? A person's feelings, a situation's outcome, the future's shape, and what might become available in your attention, your energy, your actual experience of daily life, if you loosened the grip on that particular thing, not abandoned it, not stopped caring about it, simply held it a little more lightly, with the recognition that tighter does not mean safer, and that the peace you are looking for has never, in fact, lived inside the grip. Thank you for being here with me today. Until next time, be well.